She-Ra is finally over. And all I can say after watching that last season is, thank fucking God. I wanted to like this show. I watched every single season. It never got beyond just okay to me, which is a damn shame. I grew up with the original He-Man and She-Ra. I wanted to like the reboot. I really did. I never got the opportunity to because while the animation looked decent enough, the story was always shit. And this last season puts to shame everything else. This last season was so bad, it makes the most hated seasons of Voltron look tolerable by comparison, and those were universally hated by everyone. I, I think I know where this stems from, too. Originally, She-Ra was contracted for 5 seasons from Netflix. And I feel that Noelle Stevenson had planned for a renewal or an extension to that contract. So by the time they got up to the 5th season and Netflix had not renewed them, something that is very weird considering how much Netflix is in absolute desperation for anything mode. They will greenlight basically anything at this point. They will extend anything that wants an extension. They will just throw money at whatever for original content. So that they didn't kind of says something, first of all. But they did not renew a contract for She-Ra, so she was in scrambled desperation mode to figure out some kind of ending, because I don't believe that she had planned for only 5 seasons. For as much as she says that she had planned for this to be a 5-season series, I believe that that's something that she's saying in defense now that the show's over, because this last season did not feel like any of the others. It absolutely did not. Also, as a quick aside, I think another reason that says why the show didn't get renewed is they did not advertise this at all. And I know that Netflix marketing is normally shit nothing to begin with, but at the very least they will have the common courtesy to, put it in the coming soon tab that's on fucking Netflix. They didn't even do that. No one knew that this show, unless you saw the YouTube trailer or heard about it online, because every media publication was talking about it, because they're all like fucking whipping boys to this series. No one knew that this series was having its final season releasing this month. It was not advertised anywhere on Netflix. They didn't say anything. They didn't show anything. It just popped. That is really, really weird by any standard for Netflix, because they are advertising things that are like a month out. Anywho, back to the actual show itself. The writing in this was absolutely terrible. First off, the characters suffer greatly from what I like to call plot personality. Their personalities just seem to shift on a fucking dime from normal based on whatever the story called for at that moment. Catra seemed so much worse throughout the whole series, yes, but particularly in the first half of it. She seemed really weak and just like a shell of her former self. And I know that there will be some people that argue, yeah, that's the point, that's what they were building towards. Not like this. At the end of Season 4, she was actually in a relatively strong position, and she was very confident and, ironically, because she's in space, on top of the world. As soon as Season 5 started, and throughout all of Season 5, she was just very weak, very timid, very afraid, all of these things that she normally isn't. And she was the biggest example. You saw a few other examples, like Bo just randomly pissed off in ways that Bo never is, etc., etc. And again, I know that people are going to come to the defense of Catra and the reason for that, and they're going to say that, well, she's always had abandonment issues, so of course she was going to act like this. Yeah, she's had abandonment issues, not loneliness issues, which is the main thing that they were drilling in this season. That's completely new. Those two things are different. One is not the same. They can show similar symptoms, but this was very obviously loneliness, not abandonment. Uh, the story felt completely rushed, which is another thing that leads me to believe that they did not account for only having 5 seasons, even though they were contracted for 5 seasons. To She-Ra's credit, every season usually had a very close plot. It may have been full of filler or it may have been incredibly slow, but usually that worked out to the show's advantage. They were intentionally slow. They were building to a plot. They usually closed all of the loose threads that were in that season, with the exception of a cliffhanger style thread that they would leave for the next season. And they found a way to make that work really well. That's one of the strengths I will give them. They were slow. They were so slow that they were able to tell a full, complete story without leaving a ton of questions in the air. This season felt like it was going at the speed of the last 4 seasons combined. It felt incredibly fast. Things just happened and then they were resolved in an instant. I've never seen this from the show. It felt like a completely different show, which was somehow worse. That amazes me, but still. Uh, uh, it left more threads open in the season than it closed by the ending. That's amazing. I rarely ever see that in a series. For as much as people shit on how bad Voltron was, because I don't think that Voltron expected to be that popular and to get renewed that many seasons, so they had absolutely no clue what the fuck they were doing. I think She-Ra had the exact opposite end of the problem. They had a lot planned and couldn't do it, so they had to cram everything in all in one season. There were so many things that happened that left me going, how the fuck did this happen? This makes no fucking sense based on the episode it came from. One of the biggest examples I can use is they were trying to get back in contact with Adora and the gang up in space, and they needed this seer dude in order to be able to do that. They never found him, yet they were able to get in contact with him. It wasn't Adora contacted them, it was they contacted Adora, but they didn't have the person they needed to be able to find her to send out a message to her. That still confuses me. How did that work? They didn't explain it. I didn't miss it. I rewatched it to make sure I didn't miss something. No, they never found him. They gave a call to her. Nothing explained. And there's several instances of things like that where in its own episode it will contradict what it said, or it will contradict earlier season plots or earlier season points. It rewrote a lot of shit. It changed at a whim whatever needed to happen for the purposes of the story just to conclude. It felt rushed to a degree that I have never seen from this show. They did a few character redesigns. First and most prominent was the She-Ra redesign, which I'm actually going to be the weird one here and say I actually liked her redesign, because if the intent of this series was to make She-Ra look like a warrior rather than a woman, then this redesign succeeded in that. This should have been how the redesign first looked, because the first redesign that they used for the show made her look, well, stupid and weird. It made no sense if you were making if your intent was to make her look like a warrior. The design that they used made no sense. This one absolutely did. So again, I say good redesign. I still think that fucking looking like a plank of wood is not a good idea, because even guys have curves. It's just more subtle than women. But women, again, still do have curves. Very showy curves, very subtle curves, doesn't matter. Human beings have curves, so they're not fucking planks of wood. But that's just a character design issue that this show has in spades. I guess that's just an issue all around, rather than with her specifically. But again, the other part is, if you wanted to do this, why did you make a She-Ra series? Because based on the new design of her, she does look like a decent warrior character. Why She-Ra? Why did you have to use She-Ra for this? You could have made a completely new character, had her look like that, and I don't think anybody would have given a shit about it. But then they also redesigned Catra, and I'm going to show a few images, because they redesigned Catra to look almost exactly like Noelle Stevenson, the creator of the show. She redesigned one of the main characters to look like herself. And there are going to be people in the comment section that say, no, that's not what Noelle Stevenson looks like anymore, or no, that's a very old image of her. Look, I looked up many images of Noelle Stevenson, and the image that I got is almost all of the images that I have ever found of her. So unless she hasn't taken a fucking picture in the last 2 years, this is what she looks like, or at least what I'm able to find that she looks like. And even the fucking haircut looks the fuck goddamn same. If this wasn't a redesign to look like her, I don't know what is. But from what I've heard, apparently half the fucking cast is supposed to look like her. I've heard that Adora's hairstyle is based on a hairstyle that she either had at the beginning of the show or had at one point. I've heard that the character that was introduced in season 4, Double Trouble, is actually based off of a D&D character of hers. One of the characters that she even voices in the show is one of the princesses that's married to another woman in the show, so a lesbian relationship in the show, and she voices one of the characters. Goes on and on. So why I'm shocked at just the vanity of it, I don't know, but I guess it's because there's never been something quite as blatant as the Catra redesign. It reminds me of the Jake Goldman situation. Now, for those of you that don't know, and I believe I'm saying his name right, Jake Goldman is a writer for Powerpuff Girls. He has written several episodes, and this is the only time this character ever shows up, is in episodes that he writes. It's a character that, coincidentally, I'm sure, looks like him, coincidentally again, is voiced by him, and Blossom has a crush on this character. A writer of the new Powerpuff Girls show wrote himself into the series and wrote it so that one of the Powerpuff Girls, a kindergartner, has a crush on him. That's not creepy at all. It's that same level of vanity and egotism that I see with Catra being redesigned to look like Noelle Stevenson. It's fucking insane. And I'm not just pulling that out of my ass. I have asked many people, do these look similar? And they say, yeah, surprisingly so. So I'm not just making this shit up, and I will show the images to show that I'm not bullshitting. The ending is just a giant fuck off, we have no idea what we're doing kind of thing. There's so many threads left open. It felt so rushed. It's just and uh, I guess one of the things that upsets me the most, and this one slightly isn't the show's fault, but it kind of is because they really encourage this shit. The media is going absolutely gaga over the over a thing that happens in the end, because at the end, spoiler alert, the romantic couple kiss, and it's a couple of girls. So, oh boy, lesbians kissing. I've seen so many fucking articles that say this is something that's never happened before. That, oh, this is a first of its kind. That this is that this has never existed in animation ever. And I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck are you smoking? Voltron had a gay couple kissing at the end, and that was 2 years ago. A Steven Universe had a lesbian marriage in an episode, and that was about 3 years ago. This own fucking show, She-Ra. Many times in this show, we see that couple that I mentioned before, the couple of princesses that are married, and one of them is voiced by Stevenson. We see them kissing all the fucking time. Hell, the ending for Legend of Korra was very, very similar to this. It was a lesbian romantic couple ending, and they did that 6 years ago. This is not new. This is not innovative. This is not stunning and brave. This is normal. I really don't get why this keeps happening, but the media keeps doing this shit over and over again. It reminds me of the Black Panther thing, where the media was saying this is the first time ever that a black man has starred in anything. And then when people pointed out that Will Smith and Denzel Washington exist, they rephrased it to the first time a black superhero has ever starred in anything, to which Spawn said, "Hi, how you doing?" And they kept having to revise it again and again and again. And no matter how they revised it, Black Panther still wasn't the first. So I don't. They keep doing this shit. I don't know why. I don't get what erasing history helps for your cause. I really don't. I did not give a shit about the lesbian kiss or multiple lesbian kisses in the series because I expected it. They're romantic couples. A romantic couple kissing in a series. Le gasp. What a shock. The only thing that was surprising to me was the amount that was featured, the amount of kissing in the series that was featured, because might be the most I've ever seen couples kiss in a series that had this rating. Other than that, I mean, I saw this coming miles away. I was expecting it. I would have been shocked if they didn't kiss. Why is this surprising? I think that this series was effectively set up to fail by a creator that had no idea what she was doing. It shows that she's used to writing comics at her own pace, not series that are dependent on the will of the person funding her. Because she did not expect going into this that she would actually have to end the series at the contract's end. Her writing is just terrible in general for a series, but especially when rushed, my god, it is absolutely atrocious. The media just lapped it up because lesbians, oh boy, the media is some thirsty motherfuckers. The character designs are just meh at best. Even when there were character designs I liked, like Hordak or Horde Prime, they still felt a bit more generic than not because of the artistic style. Everyone is just a giant piece of wood as a body. It's just I I'm not saying you can't like the series, by the way, because I'm going to get a lot of people that are going to say, "Oh, well, you're saying I'm not allowed to like the series or some bullshit like that," because people seem really defensive of this show for some odd reason, and I can't figure out for the life of me why. Look, if you like the series, good on you. I tried. I really did. I watched the whole damn thing, and I just never could. If you could, great. Have fun. But me, as a person that grew up with the original She-Ra, as a person that went into this wanting to like this series, I couldn't. And I tried. She is going to be directing a couple more series and a movie now. The movie in particular is going to be based off of one of her comics, so I'm assuming that that's going to be better because that will be based on her own thing. Uh, I think that the creator has the ability to do something good, and I want to see it. I did not with She-Ra. I really hope that the sheer egotism that I saw in redesigning one of the main characters to look like herself was a one-off, and that is not going to be something going forward. Uh, it's very much a case of I want to like the creator, I want to like the show. Everything I've seen from both, I just can't, and I'm hoping that it's just She-Ra and not the creator herself. I really don't want to. I really want Noelle Stevenson to be an okay artist and creator. I don't want another Rebecca Sugar kind of thing going on. The world can barely handle one Rebecca Sugar. We don't need two. Again, if you like the series, good on you. I really couldn't, and I'm glad it's fucking done, and I hope that the next DreamWorks series is better, or at least has competent writing to it. After the last several seasons of Ultron and after this show, I just can't take much more of DreamWorks bullshit. I really can't. This has been Math Machine praying for a good Netflix animated series. I think I see my problem here. Peace out.